The fourth day of 2026 Formula 1 preseason testing has finished at the Barcelona circuit. Once again, we've had an incident-free day, with some teams already completing their 10 authorized runs. And finally, we've seen the first outing of the Aston Martin for this season. A fourth day with few incidents and 6 cars on track brought this penultimate preseason testing day to life. So, to avoid making this video any longer, it's time for us to see what the fourth day of preseason has brought us and what work the 6 teams that took to the track have done. This Thursday, the second to last day of testing, the German team officially ends its preseason, having already used its 3 authorized test days. Once again, they've impressed with their lap count and another problem-free day that let them run in the morning. Andrea Kimi Antonelli drove the car, enjoying another high-mileage morning. He completed 90 laps in long runs and worked with aerodynamic sensors. In the morning, his best time was 1:17.081, which put him at the top of the session. For much of the day and afternoon, he gave the W17 to Joe Russell. He had already said yesterday that he'd try to test the pace more today. At the very least, he completes another stint of over 70 laps and sets the fastest preseason time so far at 1:16.641. However, as I always say, the times don't mean much. Mercedes reportedly pushed harder on the last day and will leave this Thursday. Both drivers completed over 60 laps each, totaling nearly 500 laps overall. More than any other team so far, so Mercedes? With this, the Barcelona preseason comes to an end, where the feelings are extremely positive. As always, all data, especially private preseason data, should be taken with a grain of salt. Still, Mercedes has shown impressive consistency and reliability, a solid base to build on ahead of the Australian Grand Prix season opener. After Tuesday's appearance, he returned to the Barcelona circuit for another session, where their reliability continues to stand out. And it has been another day with a lot of mileage for the Prancing Horse team, in a session much more productive than Tuesday mornings. The car was driven by Lewis Hamilton, who at first had some grip issues and actually ended up having a small spin. No consequences. After that, he drove well and consistently, and even Hamilton said he felt positive. He completed 87 laps in 1:18 before handing over the car for the afternoon session. Leclerc, tasked with logging high mileage again, completed 83 laps and recorded the third fastest time of 1:18. The drivers finished 170 laps in total, giving the team the most kilometers today. Ferrari remains reliable like Mercedes, with no major issues, a great sign for the Italian team. We'll see if they have another day like this tomorrow, because they still have to complete their last authorized day, so it's certain we'll see them on Friday, running on the Barcelona circuit. McLaren had a tough day, facing their first preseason problem, which significantly limited their mileage on Thursday. Oscar Piastri drove the car, completing 48 laps in the morning with a best time of 1:18.419. However, after lunch, they didn't return to the track in the afternoon session. Apparently, McLaren had a problem with the fuel system and they weren't able to fix it all afternoon. So in the end, McLaren is left only with the morning's work. They hope to fix the problem so they can keep running tomorrow. The world champion team had a rough Thursday and must catch up on lost work during their final preseason day. But fortunately, they have that day, and we'll see if they can make the most of it and have a final session without any issues that keep them from adding more mileage. Racing Bulls has also used up their last day of preseason testing, and they went out on track this Thursday with both of their drivers to wrap up their preseason. In the morning, the one in charge of driving the car was Liam Lawson, who, like on other days, enjoyed a calm session, completing 64 laps before handing over the wheel in the afternoon to Arvid Lindblad, who did 47 laps in total, giving Racing Bulls a mileage of 106 laps between their 2 drivers and wrapping up a preseason without many surprises. So after this, Racing Bulls head straight on. Faenza finishes their preseason, and we won't see them again until 2 weeks from now, when testing begins at the Bahrain circuit. After Monday's issues, Cadillac resumed testing today for their second day, with the authorized driver in charge all day. Checo Perez managed to complete more laps than on Monday, and they didn't have the same problems as before. This let Checo complete 66 laps today, helping gather more data about the car in preparation for the American team's Formula 1 debut. The Mexican driver's best time was 1 minute 21 seconds 024, but more importantly, they gained valuable experience and learned about the car. Tomorrow they'll begin their final day of testing, hoping for another smooth session to gather more data for the team. We've seen significant progress from Cadillac today without Monday's issues. Tomorrow could be just as good or better. The North American team is sure to have a successful first Formula 1 preseason. At last, after keeping us waiting, Aston Martin has unveiled their new single-seater in the final hour of preseason. Newey's car was finally comfortable on the track, but it came out much later than planned. On this day, they were only able to do 5 laps at low speed as installation laps. So, there isn't much that can be said about Aston Martin, since those laps were simply to make sure the car was working perfectly. And in fact, they caused the only red flag of the day when Lance Stroll, who was in charge of debuting. The car stopped near the entrance of the pit lane due to a problem about which we know very little so far from what we've seen. The car's bold, aggressive design stands out in the photos they've shared, especially its eye-catching suspension. In theory, tomorrow we should see them all day, allowing us to better evaluate the single-seater. But at least they've already managed to get the car out on track, and that's quite positive for the team led by Lawrence Stroll. Ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up the second-to-last preseason summary at the Barcelona circuit, tomorrow is our last day, when teams with days left will return to the track. So, in theory, we should see Cadillac, Audi, Aston Martin, Racing Bulls, Ferrari, McLaren and Alpine again. So with this, we finish this summary. See you tomorrow as we continue covering the final day of testing. Feel free to leave a comment below. If you like the Aston Martin design, thank you. Share your thoughts about it in the comments. I'm eager to hear what you all think about this single-seater. I'm Skyline Racing. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and enable notifications to stay updated on new uploads. See you tomorrow for the last recap of the 2026 Formula 1 preseason.